Number 1. They were watched to be judged, not understood. When you grow up under a gaze that is always evaluating, always measuring, the camera becomes an echo of that same scrutiny. These are children who learned early that being seen meant being assessed. A parent's eye scanning for what was wrong, what needed fixing, what didn't measure up. And when your earliest experience of visibility was tied to criticism or correction, the lens doesn't feel like it captures a moment. It captures a threat. This is where the inner critic is built, that internalized voice that watches you through someone else's disapproving eyes. The body remembers that being in focus once meant being found lacking. Number 2. Their appearance was commented on too much. There is a quiet erosion that happens when your body becomes everyone else's conversation piece. The comparisons to siblings or cousins, the casual remarks about your weight, your height, your features, spoken across the dinner table. Psychologically, this creates a fracture in body ownership, known as self-objectification. The child begins to experience their body through an external lens, monitoring how they look from the outside instead of how they feel from within. So when a camera appears, that objectified state is triggered immediately. The photograph isn't just taking an image, it's reopening the floor to judgment they have spent years trying to escape. Number 3. Love was conditional on performance. In some families, affection flows most freely when the child is presenting well, looking right, behaving correctly, smiling on cue. This creates what psychologists call conditional positive regard, where worth is always attached to an if. In this context, a photograph becomes a performance review. It becomes evidence that will either prove you were good enough or expose that you weren't. Even decades later, the same mechanism activates. The camera doesn't just take a picture, it administers a test. Somewhere inside, there is still a child operating from an external locus of evaluation, measuring their value through imagined eyes watching them. Number 4. They learn to disappear to stay safe. Some children learn very early that the safest place is invisibility. When being noticed led to conflict, when attention carried consequences, staying small became a survival strategy. Trauma researchers call this fawning through invisibility, where the nervous system learns that safety lives on the margins. A camera disrupts that carefully learned protection. It pulls them into focus when their system was trained to find peace in the background. Being photographed activates hypervigilance to social threat. It feels like being dragged into the light when you learn that shadows were where you survived. The freeze response arrives, not because of vanity or shyness, but because the body is protecting itself in the only way it knows how. If this resonates with you, know that your discomfort around cameras is not a flaw in who you are. It is evidence of what you survived. The resistance you feel is your nervous system trying to keep you safe the way it learned to long ago. And understanding where it comes from is often the first step toward reclaiming your right to exist visibly, without needing anyone's approval to do so.